Thank you so much. It is such an honor to actually present at this opportunity. I think I've known Professor Ashutosh Sharma for almost 3 decades now, something like that. So it is a fantastic journey, if you want to call it that way, in terms of we had a common research along the way. So congratulations, Ashutosh, on your 65th birthday. It's really an honor for me to celebrate it. What I want to talk about today is actually a little bit more technical along the lines, but it is a really important topic, which is the previous speaker mentioned, clean water. And so I just want to give one example of the kind of things we are trying to do to solve, the latest membrane technology, some of the challenges, like clean water. As you can see that for me, for my research, India remains one of the key sources for human sort of student power. For one of the best students that I get is the Saurabh Tiwari, Kshitij Sharma. Saurabh, for example, is from RGP, Kshitij is from IIT. So I'm getting really well now. We are PhD, and Kshitij actually is at Intel, so doing very well. What I wanted to show you was just a little bit more technical maybe than but the need for clean water is immense. And if you want to go to the next slide, let me show you. 170 billion liters of water is there on the Earth's surface, 70% of the Earth's surface. Yet, 1 million people globally do not have access to clean drinking water. So, I commend companies like Bill Gates Foundation and all that have tried to solve it, and this is not getting any better because of the world population growing. There is droughts, there is glaciers that are shrinking, the sea level is rising, salt water is getting into these glaciers, and so our challenge for the next foreseeable future is clean water, and it is really a major challenge. So in that context, I just wanted to say that we need far more technologies that are more efficient, that are cheaper, and so let me just say that the water that you drink from your tap has to go through some processes. Like for example, there's multiple stages of removal of cleaning up the water. So there's it goes through these large membranes that can take out viruses and things like that. For example, here's an example of all the things you need to remove to produce clean water. So you start with particles at the micro level, then you have to remove molecular species like bacteria, viruses and so on, and that's at the micron level. And then you have porous other stuff. And finally, it's the salt, right? So, what is important to realize that particularly for countries like India, or even the Middle East, which heavily relies upon this technology called reverse osmosis, or this last step of removing the salt is what takes 60% of the energy. And the reason is that, and Professor Sharma is a scientist, the energy of hydration is very high for water, salt and water, and if you would just want to physically separate it by 4 sides with no chemical interaction, no molecular interaction, just based upon 4 sides, it's a huge amount of energy. So 60% of the power, which is a huge amount, is spent in that last step of removing the salt from the water, right? So the rest of it is all much simpler. So we are looking into a topic that Professor Sharma is very familiar with, kind of pioneered this area of carbon-based nanomaterials. So taking cue on that, we started to work on carbon-based materials that are, and Professor Sharma is really a big name in carbon-based. So we are able to remove both salt and dye molecules. This is an example of that kind of advanced membrane that will benefit the world and particularly India. I also want to say that in the last slide that we are working on something very unique: how to separate proteins from water, or proteins by shape and size. So there is a lot of value if you can separate mixtures of proteins. If you are a biotech company like Pfizer or something like that, you make all these proteins of different types, and sometimes they can be, polymorphs and things like that, which are different structures of different, very similar shape and size. So we are developing, and this is again an area Professor Sharma is very familiar with, this is taking blocks of polymers, and we are creating these split membranes. So the split membranes have not yet circular membranes like a traditional membrane. So proteins have a certain shape and size, and so depending on the shape and size on the left-hand plot, you can see that we're able to separate, for example, IgG, immunogamma globulin, is very important immune protein compared to other proteins that are more circular in shape. And so these membranes are now, it's a sort of an advanced membrane concept where you try to take a vertical slit instead of a circular pore, and again, this can separate, proteins or, pharmaceutical companies, and we are working, in fact, with launching a consortium with them. So it would be, it is again, it's the kind of idea that Professor Sharma brought to the world, and I think we are just, exploiting this technology. So again, congrats, Professor Sharma, or Ashu, as I call you. Every time I come to India, I try to come to IIT Kanpur and visit you. When you were in BSc at Delhi, it was such a pleasure to have our conversations. You were extremely stimulating, and I think you have seen the family you have developed around the world. I'm one of them. I'm certainly a big patron of your technology research, and it's a critical thinking that really made us sort of go far. You know, that you have the vision to foresee what's needed for technology, but also as a true mentor in the sense of taking young people and sort of talking to them through their problems and convincing them that what are the directions, the pathways, and you're very, sometimes you're very blunt in your, critical, answer, which is very good. You don't mince, the thoughts, you just make it very clear. This is what you need to do, and here's how you can change your research or your life going forward. So again, congrats, and from my host group down there, you can see I have 26 or so students, and many of them are from IITs, and I look forward to coming and visiting India and you guys sometime. So congrats, and thank you.
Thank you.